This is a chocolate bar, shiny, sweet, wrapped in gold foil. To you, it is a treat, a comfort food, a guilty pleasure picked up at the checkout counter for $2. But to the global economy, this is not a snack. It is a commodity as ruthless as oil and as controversial as diamonds. Welcome to the Chocolate Cartel. I am not talking about drug lords or criminal gangs. I am talking about something far more powerful: legitimate, publicly traded corporations. The global chocolate industry is a machine worth over $130 billion a year. It is an empire built on a single fragile bean. And that empire is guarded by a handful of giants. Just 6 major corporations control roughly 80% of the global market: Mars, Ferrero, Mondelez, Nestlé, Hershey. These companies don't just sell candy. They control the flow of an entire agricultural ecosystem. They decide the price, they set the standards, and effectively, they decide who eats and who starves. Consider the scale. Mars Incorporated alone generates annual revenue comparable to the GDP of entire nations like Jordan or Bolivia. These are financial superpowers. Every year, we consume millions of tons of cocoa. Easter, Valentine's Day, Halloween. The demand is insatiable, but there is a dark paradox at the heart of this industry. While corporate profits hit record highs, the people at the very bottom of the chain are trapped in a time warp. In the dense forests of West Africa, where 70% of the world's cocoa is grown, the year is not 2024. Economically, it is the 19th century. The disconnect is staggering. On one side, you have automated factories in Switzerland and marketing executives in New York. On the other, you have millions of farmers working with machetes, often without electricity or running water. We are told that chocolate is a symbol of love and luxury, but if you follow the money, you realize that is an illusion designed to keep you buying. The reality is that this industry is built on a financial structure so unequal, it borders on feudalism. We need to ask the uncomfortable question: if the chocolate industry is worth billions, why are the people who grow it earning pennies? Who is actually keeping the money? To understand where the money goes, you have to look at the machine. The supply chain of chocolate is often described as an hourglass. At the top, you have millions of consumers. At the bottom, you have millions of small-scale farmers, mostly in Ivory Coast and Ghana. But in the middle, that is the choke point. The middle is controlled by a tiny group of cocoa traders and grinders, companies like Barry Callebaut and Cargill, who sit between the farms and the chocolate brands. This bottleneck gives the corporate side absolute pricing power. Let's break down the economics of a single chocolate bar. Imagine you pay $1 for a bar. How much of that dollar makes it back to the farmer in West Africa? 50 cents? 20 cents? No. On average, the farmer receives less than 7 cents, 7%. The other 93% is swallowed by marketing, manufacturing, retail margins, and corporate profit. In the 1980s, farmers received nearly 16% of the value. Today, their share has been cut in half, even as the price of chocolate has risen. This is not an accident. It is a feature of the commodity market. Cocoa is traded on futures exchanges in London and New York. The price fluctuates wildly based on weather reports, hedge fund speculation, and political instability. But the farmer has no access to these markets. They are price takers, not price makers. When the global price crashes, the corporations hedge their bets and protect their margins. The farmer takes the full hit. This volatility creates a trap. The average cocoa farmer in Ivory Coast earns roughly $1 a day. That is less than half of the extreme poverty line. They are not just poor, they are structurally destitute. They cannot afford fertilizers, they cannot afford modern tools, and most critically, they cannot afford labor. This brings us to the industry's darkest secret. Because farmers cannot afford to pay adult wages, they use the only free labor available: children. Despite decades of pledges to eradicate it, child labor is still rampant. Over 1 million children work in the cocoa sector in West Africa. We aren't talking about kids helping out on weekends. We are talking about hazardous labor, carrying heavy loads, handling dangerous pesticides, wielding sharp machetes. The Chocolate Cartel knows this. They have signed protocols. They have missed deadlines to fix it in 2005, 2008, 2010, and 2020. Why? Because fixing it requires paying a living income price for cocoa, and paying a fair price would destroy the profit margins that Wall Street demands. The machine is designed to extract cheap raw material at any human cost, and right now, that cost is being subsidized by the poorest people on Earth. So why does this system survive? If we know about the poverty, the child labor, and the exploitation, why hasn't it collapsed? The answer is simple. The industry has mastered the art of ethical aesthetics. Walk down any candy aisle and you will see the seals. Fair trade, Rainforest Alliance, sustainably sourced. These labels make us feel good. They tell us that our purchase is helping, but the hard data tells a different story. While these programs do some good, they often act as a bandage on a bullet wound. A small premium paid per ton does not solve the fundamental problem of a market price that is too low to live on. Even with fair certification, many farmers still live in poverty. The sheer scale of the demand makes true ethical sourcing incredibly difficult. Global chocolate consumption is rising. China and India are eating more chocolate than ever before. To feed this beast, the system relies on keeping the input costs, the cocoa, artificially cheap. If chocolate reflected the true cost of labor, environmental protection, and a living wage, that $2 bar might cost $5 or $6. Are consumers ready to pay that? Are corporations willing to slash their dividends to pay it? History suggests the answer is no. We are left with a bitter reality. The chocolate industry is one of the most concentrated transfers of wealth in the world, from the poor South to the rich North. It is a colonial trade route that never really closed. It just got a corporate logo. Governments in West Africa have tried to fight back. They formed their own cartel, a COPEC for cocoa, trying to force a price premium on buyers. But the buyers are powerful. They can stockpile reserves. They can wait it out. The power dynamic remains broken. So the next time you unwrap that foil, remember what you are holding. It is a marvel of logistics. It is a triumph of marketing. But it is also a product of a broken system. The sweetness is engineered. The bitterness is outsourced. And until the economics change, the true price of chocolate will never be paid at the register.